Growing up, my mom was into muscle cars. She would always talk about her boyfriends in high school and the cars they drove. And one in particular, I would hear it a million times, 1969 Chevelle SS 396, 4-speed. But then probably around when I was 6, 7 years old, my stepdad bought a Chevelle, a 64 Chevelle. And first thing, dropped a racing engine into this jalopy, unpainted, and then just the smell, the noise, like the look of these cars, it ignited something, When I was an early teenager, obviously no one has any money. It's the early 90s, but I started acquiring model cars. So I had muscle cars, some of the newer cars. My mom drove Camaros like all through the 90s, so she had probably 4 different Camaros. When the Super Sport came back out in 1997, she acquired that, and that was right after the LS came out as well. So I was about 15 years old when she got that car, and so at that time I did my first LS swap. I always joke about that because I took an LS out of a model car. It was a Firebird, and then I put the little model LS engine into a 1969 Camaro, and then swapped the rims from the Firebird as well. So I did, kind of like a disc upgrade and an LS swap. But then I turned 16, and my mom had that SS, so 16-year-old, you got Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire album that just came out, just banging gears, 6-speed. It was just the summer to remember, that's for sure. Fast forward through high school, my first real job was at a car wash, and so I'm just, again, around cars all the time. And go to 2001, I got a baby on the way. And so I made the decision to move to Long Beach because that's where my dad lived, and he had his painting business. And he basically offered me a job to, eventually take over the business. So I became a painter, and that's what I've been doing since about 2002. So it's about 22, 23 years now, painting experience. I've done mostly, buildings, residential stuff. I always say I paint anything but cars, and that's basically what I'm down to do. So probably around 2022, obviously post-COVID, was doing okay as a painter, painting contractor, making okay money, but I just felt like, that wasn't something that I created. I definitely worked hard and, worked a lot to maintain it and keep the business going, to help support my family and to pay it forward to my dad, who started the business. But I just felt like it wasn't something that I created. So I felt like I really wanted to create something on my own. I backed up a little bit to about 2012 is when I got my first muscle car, and I got a 1965 Malibu, and that had a 327 in it. And how these things naturally progress. You try to do what you can to blow that engine so you can have an excuse to put in a bigger, faster one. And so I did my first swap then. And I was kind of limited to how I can customize it. I mean, I knew I wanted to paint everything all nice and pretty before I went into the car, because, it's kind of hard to do it after that. But, you go look at these high temp colors you buy from Pep Boys, AutoZone, whatever. You're really limited on like the selection. And I didn't want a Ford blue on my Chevy block, but I wanted something like that would match the car and look nice, midnight blue. So that's what I went with, but otherwise, like, my selection was pretty limited. So after I kind of put the engine together all detailed, I started looking at it like, I really like doing this. I like putting everything together. Everything is finished. It's just exactly how I want it right before it goes into the car. Right around 2022, I had kind of been stirring on the idea of starting another business, and I had just started working with Cerakote. kind of sampling it, but once I sprayed it for the first time, I just knew like this was something different. It was really, it just felt nice spraying it. You know, I love the finish, and it seemed pretty easy to spray until I let it sit and bubble, and then I realized like this stuff is kind of finicky, and you know, there's a technique to it to come out right and not have these problems. So after working with Cerakote for a little while, I decided like, you know, I'm gonna make this into a business. To this day, I don't plan on being a car painter. Like, I don't want to do it. I feel like I could do it if I wanted to, but like, you know, to do a really nice paint job on a car, especially a classic car, you really want to do a great job, but it takes a lot of time. And there's many steps involved to like have a really nice paint job. So, you know, it's kind of the same reason I don't want to build cars from start to finish, is just because it takes a long time and there's lots of steps involved, and really I wouldn't be able to enjoy like one after another and like get that satisfaction in a kind of a quick manner. So how I kind of went after this business as far as like building a niche is I'm gonna just do the engines, the hard parts, the mechanicals, the suspension. I mean, it kind of has been a domino effect. Like, it's turning into everything now, like exterior trim, interior trim. I'm sure there's gonna be body panels. It's only a matter of time. But as far as like how I transitioned, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, the key to painting is preparation. You want to have quality results. You're not going to achieve it without the right preparation. All paint is different, just like Cerakote is different from paint. Painting a house is different than painting a car, but it has the same principles. You want the preparation to be on point, and you have to know how the product acts and reacts, how to apply it to get the results that you're looking for. So in that aspect, it's pretty much the same thing. But as far as Cerakote goes, just like car paint, they all have their, you know, techniques that you need to have to like really get quality results. So even to this day, like there's some challenge in some of the coatings with Cerakote. Every single Cerakote color basically sprays different. It's a different makeup of the volume, the solids, whether it has metallic, more or less, the viscosity. So basically every color sprays different, and you need to kind of tweak your technique just a little bit, you know, depending on the color. Actually, after spraying Cerakote for a long time, the paint that I used to do is pretty effortless. It makes it really easy. I mean, I still spray cabinetry from time to time. We do kitchens and stuff like that, where we, you know, take the whole kitchen apart, bring the doors to the shop, and we do the preparation, priming, and spray painting the doors. But after working with Cerakote so long, that's just kind of a walk in the park now. So when I got started, I knew I wanted to, you know, do engines, do car parts, all of that, but I needed a way to actually attract that business. So what I did is I started going on Amazon and other places that had cheap car parts, and I just started buying up car parts, exhaust, headers, brake calipers, all sorts of, you know, intakes, stuff like that. And it's kind of like a fake it till you make it kind of thing, but it was also for practice. So I would get these intakes, exhausts, whatever, and I would practice on them, sandblast them, Cerakote them, you know, a lot of failures, a lot of redos, and then I would, you know, get my finished product. I'd take some pictures, some videos, post it up on Instagram, and then start the whole thing all over again. Sandblast off the Cerakote, do the same part over and over again. Again, not just, you know, to make it look like I was busy painting all these car parts, but just so I got really good, because I want whatever that comes out of this shop to be like the absolute best I can do. So when I started feeling really confident with the Cerakote application, I felt like what I want to do next is I want to go after fabricators, car designers, top car builders. Like they are, building these cars from start to finish with like no expense spared, very fine detail, and very creative. Everyone's trying to do something different, and Cerakote is kind of carving its path in the automotive industry. 15, 20 years ago, it was all about chrome. And then 10 plus years ago, chrome was starting to phase out. It's all about polished aluminum. And then, even that's phasing out. Now people want everything to be carbon fiber. And then Cerakote's starting to look good on cars, so people are starting to play with that. Soon you're gonna see, full cars done in Cerakote, and then maybe it'll be phased out. But the key for me is to keep trying to push the boundaries as far as the Cerakote rule book, see what works, see how creative I can be without sacrificing integrity and longevity of a quality finish, and just trying to be unique the whole time. There's a lot of people that are applying Cerakote, and like anything you want to look into the instructions and how to apply it, and how to prepare for it. So there's sort of a Cerakote application guide, so to speak, where you have to follow these application guidelines for preparation. And at times I tend to bend those rules a little bit and see what I can get away with in order to do something different, to achieve a different finish, or perhaps an application that normally someone wouldn't think of, like doing stainless braided fuel lines. I thought, hey, this is a really thin coating and it has great adhesion. Let's prepare and Cerakote a steel braided line. And it came out awesome. I was able to flex it and nothing flaked off, and it looked great. And it's there you go. There's something new. That and Cerakoting plastics and even glass, carbon fiber, pretty much anything solid aside from rubber, I can Cerakote. So kind of just keeps my my wheels turning, to see what can I do next. So once I started to feel really confident with my abilities to Cerakote, and I started thinking about all the different ideas that I have for engines, different car parts. There's a lot of things that I want to do and I will eventually do, but I felt like I needed to go after some of the big fish. And social media, Instagram has been a tremendous tool, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm a new guy on the block. I don't come from the automotive, industry as far as a background. So when I reached out to some of these builders, I got some interest, but for the most part, I was kind of just jerked around a little bit, not taken seriously. A, because I don't have 50,000 followers, and B, because you're a house painter. So that was kind of a little bit of an obstacle, but I kept just grinding it out, and just trying to gain visibility to some of, local car builders for the most part. But I would just cold call people. I would reach out on Instagram Messenger and just offer my services almost for free to whoever's got that unique car, or doing something different. Just try to get on the team somewhere, and just knowing that I can do quality work, but I just need the opportunity to be able to put it somewhere and on a stage. There was some rejection. I got over it and just kept grinding and grinding and grinding. I have probably somewhere around 6,000 hours at least of Cerakote application since I started this. I have a tremendously awesome wife that is a hard worker herself. So when I started this, I told her, just give me a year and I'll do something. Just give me a year and there will be some results to show you. And she did, and it's been longer than a year, but now it's starting to look pretty good. I'm starting to do some really fun stuff, and I'm starting to do it with some pretty prominent individuals in the car world. So when I started this business, if you ask me what would the perfect project look like? It would be the Blazing Rods SEMA Chevelle, aka Doughboy. That car is just going to turn so many heads at SEMA this year. When you talk about it and you talk about, oh, there's nothing like this, nothing like this you've ever seen. They kind of take it as like a grain of salt, but then you show them pictures of it and they're like, wow, what is that? So what makes that car so special for me is that literally almost everything is billet aluminum. All CNC finish, and CNC billet aluminum and Cerakote just go hand in hand. Like the precision and the designs and like the texture and profiles of all the CNC machine parts, and like the thinness and unique sheen of most Cerakotes together. It's just like the perfect combination. You see all the beads on the welds, you see all the nice sharp edges, the texture from the machining, and it's everywhere. Almost all the parts are billet aluminum. And if it's not billet aluminum, it's 3D printed. So it really just shows like the diversity of Cerakote and what it can be applied to. And so at the end of the day, that car is going to be maybe 60, 70% Cerakoted, complete. All the engine, transmission, like the drivetrain, mechanicals, suspension, interior parts, exterior parts, you name it, almost all of it is going to be Cerakoted. The difference between the customer with the $1 million car and the customer with a $5,000 car is almost nothing. I apply the same effort to all ranges of projects. And that's what makes this project for Blazing Rods not easy. I don't want to use that word easy, but I'm doing the same level of work that I do for them that I do for all the other projects. Like I said, it doesn't leave the shop unless I can honestly say that's the very best I can do. I worked on the Cerakote application in practice and the certification all while building this shop here in Signal, California. So everything you see, I've laid hands on. When I got this lease, it was basically a shell. For anyone who's tried to start a business post-COVID in 2022, you know, it's probably gonna have its challenges. I mean, pretty much any time you start a new business, like the survival rate is pretty low. I mean, that's the first thing you learn in business school, which I did attend, partially. I racked up so much credit card debt, buying car parts, buying materials and other things just to like push this business forward. You know, I went through a lot of hard times and I was basically broke. You know, about a year ago, while I was trying to finish my car, my 1968 Camaro, aka General, you know, I wanted to do a 2.0 version, but I wanted almost everything to be Cerakoted because that would be like my rolling business card. And I had a friend that was, you know, helping me for many years, and then something happened to, you know, the integrity of the relationship, and it just fell apart. And you know, it's pretty sad because I put a lot of faith in the guy and I trusted the guy, and you know, like I would have done a lot for him. Meanwhile, it looked like, you know, I was doing well for myself. I had car parts laying around, I had this, I had that, all this machinery and stuff, and it looked like I was able to afford a lot of things. But in reality, all I was just like zero bank account and racked up credit card debt. And so, you know, it got to a point where kind of got taken advantage of, and I was given a bill for an amount of money that I didn't expect on having to pay, and it was literally the exact amount of money I had set aside in my savings account. And so my wife, you know, I told my wife about it, and my wife says, look, that amount of money is not going to make you or him richer or poorer, so just let it go, you know, and just move on. And so I did. And, you know, it stung because, like, I really trusted the guy. You know, I put a lot of faith in him. I believed in him. He felt that like maybe I was taking advantage of him, and I had all this money laying around with the ability to buy car parts and machines and stuff like that, that like, you know, that I can pay, you know, like a premium rate. Anyways, like the big takeaway is now that I'm working with someone like Blazing Rods, it's obvious that they're putting, you know, $1 million into these cars, maybe each one of these cars. But at no time did I say to myself, like, this is my golden ticket. I'm gonna start charging these guys, you know, crazy prices or whatever, you know. The difference between quality or between a $5,000 car and $1 million car, it's the same. And the bill's gonna reflect the same rate.